thank you for waking us all up out here, for all you do.
Thank you for giving us a voice.
For being out there helping to keep the constitutional republic.
I want to thank you for
your support for veterans in the military.
Educating us.
Standing up for conservatism.
Giving us the truth.
Daybreak with Drew Steele.
CDC has been an international outlier. The rest of the world has followed the science that has been done on masking. Many people are acting as if there's not been a formal scientific evaluation of masks. And that definitive review called the Cochrane analysis came up with a conclusion that some people just didn't like, and that is that the masks had no impact on the trajectory of the infection. You've got to listen to the scientific studies. You can't ignore it. Why are we even doing scientific evaluations if we're just going to ignore the results if it doesn't fit some policy agenda?
That is the big question. Why are we going to ignore the results of scientific evaluation if it doesn't fit some policy agenda? That is a very good question. Why we continue to do that? What's the latest with masking and the CDC, and even the latest on what's going on with Hunter Biden? And is there going to be a gun charge? Is there going to be an indictment? Are we going to see that? Let's find out the latest on all of this and so much more with Congressman Byron Donalds, who's joining us this morning on Daybreak, 92.5 Fox News. Hey, good morning, sir. How are you?
Drew, are these knuckleheads really talking about bringing back mandatory masking?
Oh,
is this what's going on in America?
Yes. Yes, we are talking, and we are talking about it. It's 2020 all over again. It's weird how it seems like the same time, the same place, the same channel. All now we need to see is Joe Biden back in a basement and Antifa burning down cities. That's all we need, and it'll be like reliving the past.
Listen, personally, I'll tell you, I've actually been on the road a lot the last couple of weeks. Yeah. People are not going to go back to this masking shutdown nonsense. They're not going to do it. They're simply not. And so, look, I think, if anybody who ends up in the hospital, obviously, with COVID-19, that's really tough because that means that you've taken on some of the worst aspects of COVID-19. But people are not going to go back to shutdown status, Drew. I'm just telling you right now. Yeah. And if these knuckleheads and these agencies think that the American people are going to sit still for another round of lockdowns, they are fooling themselves. And we have bigger issues in these agencies than we realize.
Yeah, well, two things come out of this. The first thing is, boy, it's really going to put to the test what governors have been talking about, and some governors have done, like here in the state of Florida. It's really going to put to the test whether or not we do have laws passed about mandating masks and other things going on. And some governors, I saw Sarah Huckabee yesterday on Twitter, who was putting out a message that we're not going to have mandates in the state. We're not going to shut down schools. We're not going to do all of this in our state. Well, we're going to find out, about that, and it'll be interesting to see. And then the second part of it is a bigger part. The American Thinker had an interesting article in The Death of Informed Consent. And if we go back in time, as it was being described, like, you were given a choice between, let's say, ivermectin or remdesivir, and you were given the information, and then you as a person got to decide which one you wanted to do. And then you dig into the issue of, what about the hospitals? Are they making money off of this? Do they get bills paid plus 20% bonuses for using one over the other, which apparently that was happening. So informed consent is dead. That's another issue that we have to bring up as well.
Totally agree with you on that. It is one of the major things that came out of, the pandemic is recognizing and seeing how the agencies, how the medical establishment had the game they were playing. And if you dared bring up other information, ivermectin being the best example of it all, then you were demonized, like outright demonized. I think to a larger perspective, what you're talking about we'll see what laws that were put in place or governors saying about they're not going to bring in mandates. Look, at the end of the day, governors are in charge of the orders that go through their states. It is not the CDC. The CDC is essentially an agency that brings advice, but there is no statutory power for the CDC to drop massive public orders on the people. That's only governors really have that power.
Yeah.
And I think people are forgetting that early on with COVID, people were telling President Trump, well, President Trump's ordering lockdowns. President Trump was putting out orders saying, look, this is what we need to do. But he had to work with governors for that to occur.
Yeah.
The president doesn't have that power. The CDC damn sure doesn't have that power. This is something where we're going to see who are the real leaders of governors across the country and who's just going to fall under politics. And unfortunately, if you got relatives who live in a blue state, sorry for you.
Yeah.
They're going to fall under politics. But I think there's going to be a revolt to this kind of stuff because people are not going to go back into a lockdown in their home, especially considering the fact what we now know about COVID-19 was it was just about dogma and politics and not actually following the science.
Yeah. You know, and I'll mention this 3 different things that you just brought up. You know, the first thing is let's stop with the nonsense of being forgetful about what was happening at the time in 2020. Please don't do this. Listen, the former president of the United States had what he was told were the experts that were going to help to handle all of this. He's not an expert on viruses. So when, you know, Birx and Fauci were there and things were being mentioned, he's following what it is that they were, as the experts at the time, were saying to do. And then this idea that, well, he should have got rid of, or he should have done this, or he should have done all of these things. Can you just stop for a second and remember what life was like in 2020 at that moment in time?
Drew,
yeah.
Drew, you make a great point because, I mean, look, especially in politics, but we do it in sports. Everybody's a Monday morning quarterback. Everybody goes back and says what they would have done. I remember I was on the House floor in the Florida legislature at the time when the first talk about COVID hit. I was in Washington over that weekend, and I went back to Tallahassee. We're in the middle of legislative session. There were 5 members who were in D.C. for various reasons. We were all quarantined in a side office, and nobody knew what the hell was going on.
Right.
So we at that time period when people were starting to be quarantined and isolated just because nobody knew what was happening, there was no test. They basically took our temperature, asked us some questions, and then we were getting like real-time suggested information from the attending physician in the Florida legislature at the time. And then they released us from quarantine. Nobody really knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot of advice that was swirling. The key thing is that as time started to evolve, more information came out, and then your responsibility, frankly, as a governor at that point, was to actually say, okay, we've looked at this data. Here's what we're going to do with our state. Governor DeSantis did that. That is to his credit. Governor Abbott did it. It is to his credit, and so on and so forth, the other members that followed. It's the Democrat governors and, frankly, the bureaucrats in these agencies in Washington. And we also know what Joe Biden did when he came into office. It is the political dogma that has destroyed the credibility of these agencies.
Yeah. Congressman Byron Donald is joining us on Daybreak, 92.5 Fox News. All right, so a couple of other things here. First of all, give me an update on Biden investigations. What do we have? What's going on? And even the latest with what appears to be this, hey, we're going to put Hunter Biden to rest if anybody wants to say anything in the future about Hunter and his dad and the connections. Hey, we already have an indictment on a gun charge that they could have done in 2 seconds because it's so obvious that he broke the law, but it took 5 years to get to this point. All the nonsense, it's obviously to cover for Joe. But where are we with the Biden investigations?
Well, look, I think with what the Department of Justice is doing, frankly, who knows? I mean, look, it is a joke that David Weiss is even the special counsel. He should not be. It's a violation of Department of Justice protocols. It's actually a violation of federal law, but that's a whole other matter for another day. Obviously, the Democrats do not care about federal law, except when they're trying to weaponize it against their opponents and their rivals. What's going to happen in the House, in my view, is that we're going to open up impeachment inquiry. It's going to run through the Judiciary Committee. What will occur is it will give us the ability to have a broader subpoena power to go after things like these 5,400 emails that the National Archives just, lo and behold, wanted to let people know they had. And also to actually refine what articles of impeachment can actually look like. We have a lot of information about corruption, public corruption, pay-for-play, bribery, etc., but that has to be focused into articles of impeachment. So I think the impeachment inquiry is the right way to go. people might say, just do it right now. What's taking so long? Here's my personal view on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do this right. We cannot just be what Nancy Pelosi was, because she was flat out wrong. And again, this is what happens when you use politics. You actually destroy the institutions. If you're going to actually bring back the constitutional provisions of impeachment, then you have to have clear articles that have been worked through and finalized. I wholeheartedly believe that. And I think that we're actually going to end up getting there, because the level of information is damning and it's overwhelming.
And then the other thing I would ask is, I heard and have been reading about the concerns that people have about the release of the January 6th Capitol video footage. Are we not going to get it now? Is that what I'm hearing about? The Speaker McCarthy is not going to allow this, or doesn't want this to be released? What am I hearing about this? Do you know anything about this? What's going on?
So, no, actually, I don't know much about this one. I'm just really more frustrated with the Speaker's office because, if you're going to go out there and say we're going to release the video, then release the video.
Right.
But all this hemming and hawing about, there's some security corridors, so we can't do that or we can't do this, then you shouldn't have said nothing in the first place. Right. That's really my beef with the Speaker on this one. I'm going to have to find out a lot more about where this is. Okay. But that's where we are there.
Okay, that's fair.
Like I said, if you weren't going to do it, you shouldn't have said anything.
Yep.
But if you said you're going to do it, then you got to follow through and do it. And at the end of the day, the Speaker in the House is in charge of Capitol security, not the other way around.
Yeah. He
makes that call, and then you go from there.
All right. Who wins tonight? First game of the season.
You know what, man? I've been traveling so much. Who's playing tonight? I'll tell you who will win, but who's playing? I honestly haven't. I don't know.
You don't know who's playing? Okay.
I don't know, Drew. I'm trying to save the country, man. I'm sorry. I don't know who's up week 1 in the NFL.
I'm trying.
My Seminoles trounced LSU, and so for all the LSU fans in Southwest Florida, I'm so sorry. But the Noles are better.
Oh, that was not pretty at all.
It was pretty for me, Drew.
Well, it was pretty for you. I think the Chiefs play the Detroit tonight.
Oh, is Kelsey playing? Well, it's Detroit, but is Kelsey playing?
No.
Kelsey's out.
That's as far as I know.
I got to go with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's the best quarterback in football. He's the best player in football until somebody says otherwise. Do you know I'm about to do Stephen A. Smith's radio show?
Do I know about it, or have I heard it?
No, you don't know about it. I'm going to do it actually.
You're going to be on?
Well, you know now.
Oh, you're going to be on Stephen A. Smith? Okay.
So we're going to talk some football, talk politics, but we're going to talk some football.
He's always angry.
But,
tell him to laugh a little more when you see him. He always he could be talking about a ham sandwich, or he could be talking about a football game, and he's always got the same. He's always sounds angry. Like there's not enough mayo on the ham, and there's the football team stinks, so they didn't run the play right, or whatever the case is.
If you ask the Democrats, they would always say that I'm always angry. I smile a lot. No, look, I'm taking the Chiefs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he's the best. Detroit, people need to watch this game, though, because Detroit has some guys that can get after the quarterback. They have a talented offense, but it's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, my goodness.
No, you're right. And as far as college and some of the teams that you're following, any one in particular you're following college besides the Noles?
Is there another team other than the Florida State Seminoles? No, I'm just playing. So first of all, shout out to my son Damon.
There you go.
Holy Cross Crusaders.
That's it.
They won. I was up there watching him play. He plays defensive tackle, everybody. So, he played about 40 snaps, got a tackle. Proud of my son. Shout out to my son. Nice. Listen, the team that I really got to watch is I got to see what Georgia looks like this year. But this Alabama team, man. Just because Bryce Young is gone, don't sleep on Alabama. Oh, in Colorado with
that was big.
Deion Sanders.
Yeah, that was big.
Man.
That was big.
They got a lot of players out there, man. A lot of players. They're going to be good this year.
Although that's a lot of points to give up. That's it.
It's the Big 12, man. They don't play defense in the Big 12.
Okay.
They just don't. They don't play defense.
All right. See, you can. This is the thing. You can talk a little football and save the country at the same time. I believe in you. I think you can do both, and you just proved you can. See? So you do both.
Man, I'm just trying to see what my Cowboys do.
Oh, stop. No. Let's not go. Okay. So the New York Football Giants, my team.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, okay. Yeah, don't do the Cowboy thing. See,
You do realize we're going up to New York to beat you, right?
You do realize that most people who are Cowboy fans only rode the 1980s victories and the 1990s the wins and everything, and that's all they do. And they're just they don't live in the state of Texas. They just wanted to hang with a winner for as long as they were winning. No.
And we haven't won in 23 years, Drew. I've been living in purgatory 23 years.
That's right.
Most of my adult life being a Cowboys fan. I've been in purgatory.
Yeah. Now, when was this the last time? And the Giants won pretty recently. When was the last time they won? And they beat some pretty good teams. Who did they beat? Okay, I'm just saying. Okay.
You beat those 18-1 Patriots.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, you did that. You did that. I'll give you full credit. You guys did that.
Congressman, there's nothing like living in the past. Between the two of us, we're both doing it. Can we just be honest for a second?
Absolutely.
I don't believe anything until I see it on the field, but it'll be fun to watch. All right, Congressman Byron Donalds joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News. Get out there and save the country, please.
All right. Take it easy, Drew. See everybody.
See you later.